let's define what is GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, and compare that to the more traditional SEO, basic search engine optimization. And of course, as we do that, since GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, is a relatively new field, the word generative has a few jokes associated with it, mainly degenerative. So if you ever have an urge to make a funny comment like, hey, this presenter has practiced degenerative SEO on himself, please reserve those comments, because even myself, the first day I saw Generative Engine Optimization, I thought degenerative. But let's not make that joke. It's a little too easy. In any case, let's talk about what GEO actually is. It's relatively new in the SEO world, but you might even say that precisely this is the future of what is modern SEO today. This is where modern SEO is going, because today people are searching Google mostly, but AIs are taking more and more search market share from traditional search engines like Google and Bing and Yahoo and etc. And while GEO, generative engine optimization, is actually still present on Google itself because it does give you AI-driven results as well, there's so much of it that is moving off of Google that in a large way, Google is in some sort of trouble here. And SEO may shift largely away from Google itself. And this will be a seismic shift in the entire industry that we just have never seen since actually before Google was invented, because that's what Google did to the other earlier search engines and disrupted that entire industry. So in any case, what we're interested in knowing now is how to optimize your content to make it more visible on AI-driven search engines, so that AI-driven search engines, like if you ask ChatGPT, what socks should I buy? It can recommend you some socks. And if you sell socks, you want ChatGPT to promote your socks. That's GEO. And of course, these AI tools have a wide range. There are dozens and dozens of these. The best known one is ChatGPT. There are others like Perplexity and many other AI tools, including, of course, Google, because Google, as I mentioned a little earlier, does have its own AI overviews. And before I give you an example of how to actually do GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, let's highlight and explain the difference between traditional SEO and GEO. In traditional SEO, the focus is usually on keywords, keyword identification, then keyword optimization in your content. Now, with GEO, there's less of a focus on keywords and more on entire context. Because think about it, these are AIs. They don't need to mix and match keywords. They are more intelligent in many cases than most people. And depending on how negative you are on people's general intelligence, you might say, oh yeah, people are not even that smart to begin with. I didn't say that. In that joke, some grumpy theoretical viewer of this video is making that little comment. You and I are much nicer than that, of course. And getting back to being a little serious, we do want to acknowledge that AIs care about context because they can understand context just like a human would. Maybe, okay, not all humans, but like most humans. And so the context that's important for you to share with the AIs is how well does your content explain the whole picture? And how does that fit within your brand? Like, let's say you're a doctor and you're talking about something within nutrition. AIs understand, okay, let's say it's a really informative, well-rounded article, and there's a context like, hey, the person talking is a doctor, not somebody from the street. Oh, great. And of course, they'll go and mix and match and verify your content. Is it accurate with whatever else it knows about that subject matter, like latest research by top universities, etc. And if it thinks, oh, it's true, and the presenter is authoritative and the content is good, then of course you'll have a far higher chance to be promoted in the AI search engines. But let me give you a more concrete example. Let's say you're selling some product. Maybe it's a yoga mat, maybe it's a cooking pot, or any other product. In the past, let's say we're doing a yoga mat example, your main keyword would be yoga mat. If you can rank in Google search for the keyword yoga mat, you would make millions and millions of dollars. And in addition to attempting to rank for the keyword yoga mat, you would attempt to rank for a number of related long tail keywords like green yoga mat, red yoga mat, soft yoga mat, long yoga mat, short yoga mat for kids, yoga mat for women, yoga mat for men, yoga mat, blah, 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 blah. So many variations as you can. And maybe you'd make multiple pages, because within one page it would be nearly impossible to rank for so many keywords. But in theory, you'd love to rank for all the possible variations of keywords which apply to your particular yoga mats, because then the more keywords you rank for, the more traffic you get, the more sales you make. Easy peasy. But now with AIs, as I mentioned, it's not about the keywords, it's about the context. So how does that play in here? You see, because it's context, what you're going to want to focus on is writing a longer and much more detailed description explaining exactly when your particular yoga mat is best, what kind of audience is best for, and for which use cases. Because you're not going to trick AI to think that your yoga mat is the best one for all cases in the world, but you should convince the AIs that, let's say you're selling extra soft yoga mats. So for people with joint problems, this is the ideal and premier best thing they can get. What that would imply is that you would write out that explanation in much more detail than you would in the past. So you would maybe cite some studies. You would maybe cite some doctor quotes, just as if you were convincing another person to buy this. You would give the same reasoning and context to the AIs, because they'll be able to truly understand it and put two and two together. So when somebody with, let's say, back problems or injuries is looking for an extra soft yoga mat, out of the many extra soft yoga mats that are out there they can recommend, they would be much more likely to recommend yours if you give sufficient context and reasons. And if we elaborate on this yoga mat e-commerce example, today there are many people going to ChatGPT to ask health advice, because in many cases it's proven to be better than doctors. And the responses are immediate, whereas to see a doctor, you have to make an appointment, pay money, etc. So many people are actually going to AIs rather than Google, rather than doctors, for medical advice. And the AIs give very elaborate answers, like, let's say somebody has back pain. The AI will actually give many solutions for the back pain. One is softer cushioning shoes, softer cushioning carpets, softer cushioning yoga mats or exercise mats to lessen the blow on the joints of those patients. And imagine if it recommended your brand. That would be amazing. In fact, actually, I had some foot pain and asked AI for how to fix this. It's been like a long-term soccer injury that I've had for like many years. And you know what? It recommended a number of brands that make extra soft shoes. And I went and I bought them. So it's real. It doesn't just work on some random people out there. It actually worked on me. I'm a real case study. And miraculously, the shoes it recommended really worked for me. So that's GEO. We can't predict the future, but there is a high chance that this is the future of SEO.